Well, none of us wants to think about it, but it's going to happen to all of us.
It's a fact of life that one day each one of us is going to die.
Since it's inevitable, we should plan for it as much as we can for the loved ones that we leave behind.
So here's our take on the subject of your last will and testament. Thanks for joining us today.
I had a very singular experience some years back where my mother and my sister died on the same day, 1 hour after each other, okay, and in different hospitals. Now, it was a real study because my mother made out a will that was absolutely crystal clear, very well done, and my sister did not make a will. Now, which means that she died what we call intestate. Now, with my mom's will, of course, there were things to work out. There were modalities to go through, hoops to go through. But it basically went out without a hitch. And within about 6 months, I think we pretty much had it sorted out. But my sister's will went on for about 2-3 years. The money got eaten up by probate courts, and it was
In fact, there was nothing
mess.
left at the end of it.
Well, there was
much.
a bit, but it was...
It was not much when you consider what was there to start with.
Okay. So the reason why we're talking about this is I believe it's very, very important how a man works his finances, how a woman works her finances, because if I was to contract tons of debts and whatever, if I die suddenly, what am I leaving her with? Or what is she leaving me with?
Well, we've seen examples
Oh,
of exactly
my goodness,
that.
yes, we have.
Yes.
But the basis of this particular chapter is making a proper will and testament. Now, you may not think that you have enough to dispose with, but you have more than you think, huh?
For me now, for a long time, I didn't much care because really, I really didn't have anything. But
I didn't think I did.
When we actually sat down and worked it out, it was actually quite a shock to me. And I'm an accountant, and I'm normally quite good with figures. But when you talk to somebody who is a lawyer, and he goes through the different elements, which you don't necessarily think about, you suddenly realize that it can add up to a good deal more than you thought.
Yes, and if you don't have the will and testament put into place, then not only, let's say I was to die quickly and I died intestate and my wife has to take care of everything. She has to jump through so many supplementary hoops in order to get herself provided for. She's already trying to get over the devastation of losing her husband. But aside from that, then she has such horrible difficulties in putting her life back together.
One of the problems, for example, when my father died, they froze his account. And my mother couldn't actually access any money.
Yeah, you see.
For the first couple of months. Unfortunately, there was family around her, so she was able to manage.
Survive.
But for a person who is all on their own and suddenly the bank shuts off and says, oh, sorry, your husband's dead, tough.
So I believe one of my most important jobs as a husband, it's not a nice job to talk about, but I want to make sure that if a tragedy strikes, that my wife is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think she wants to do the same for me. Yeah. If I lose her, she wants to make every provision to see that my life... Of course, life is going to be really awful without her or her without me. We're particularly close that way. But I really don't want her to suffer more than she has to. If she loses me. So I believe that doing a last will and testament is really, really important. And if you haven't done one, do it. End of. You don't want the courts, the probate courts and everything to eat up everything that you've worked so hard for.
And also, when you consider what effort it takes, in the grand scheme of things, what are you going to lose? 2 hours?
Yeah.
2 hours of time to just sit down, work it all out, put it all down on a piece of paper, and then you don't need to think about it ever again.
Okay, so I hope this encourages you, and also talk about it with your wife. Now, also, another thing with Last Will and Testament that we haven't gone over. This represents the very last action in your earthly life on this earth. And that is a very strong statement. The people who you leave behind, your children, your wife, or in your case, your husband, you are making a very, very strong statement. It's the last one that you'll ever make on this earth. So, yeah.
There is also another thing that you need to take into consideration, whether we like it or not. There are vultures out there.
Oh, my goodness.
And you'd be surprised who the vultures are. And you need to actually make sure that it's sewn up in such a way that the vultures can't steal it.
The clearer your will is, the less vultures can devour what you have worked so hard for in your life. Yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.
I hope we've given you food for thought, especially if you haven't prepared your last will and testament.
A very unpopular subject, but not to be neglected if we want to protect our loved ones.
Next week we'll be revisiting Ruth, as she tells us about the financial problems that were forced on her by an abusive spouse.
Thanks for being with us. God bless and bye for now.
Bye now.